Okay, it is 6:02 on Wednesday, September 21st, 2022. We are going to call to order the meeting of the Council on Family Resource Centers. Rochelle, do you mind doing roll call?
So we aren't able to see anything. I don't know if that's on purpose.
Nope.
Okay, hang on. Let me
We'll try to
see.
fix that. Just a moment. Thank you, Rachel.
Is this the issue that it doesn't?
Do you guys see our agenda up by any chance?
Oh, no, I don't see the agenda, but now there's a picture of the room. I have the agenda.
Do you, okay, hold on one second, sorry. What do you all see now? Is it our room?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh. Nope.
Vanessa, same with you?
Yeah, I see the room now.
Okay, I'm gonna try
There
to
it is.
share our screen again. Hang tight. Let me know if you see our agenda. You see that moving by any chance?
I don't see an agenda.
Okay.
I have the agenda pulled up. I don't know if you need to share it. I think as long as I can see the room.
Gotcha. We have some other meeting materials that I don't know if you'll need to see or not. I'm guessing yes. Asking Rochelle.
Yes.
Okay. So let me, hold on one sec. Let me try something else. Let's see. Are you seeing anything now or just the room?
I just see the JM and now
There-
black space. Oh, there's
I
an
see
agenda.
it.
You see the agenda now?
Well, now I see some other screen, but the agenda was up there. There it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see this YouTube video? It says Family Resource Centers Strengthen Families.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think we're in good shape. Just holler if it's weird on your end, please.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going forward with roll call.
Thank you.
Susan Sievert. Sherry Elcano. Scott Benton. Rebecca Paris. Rachel Kingham.
Here.
Vanessa Van Cor.
Here.
You have quorum.
We are going to move into item 2, which is items for presentation, discussion, and information and/or action. I'm going to look to you, Rochelle, for any public comment.
There is none.
Thank you. First on our agenda is item 2.01, approval of our minutes from the March 9th, 2022 meeting on the Council on Family Resource Centers. This is an action item. So I'm looking for any changes or anything that needs to be amended. If not, a motion.
All right, I motion that they be approved.
Thank you, Sherry.
I'll second that motion. Susan Siebert, for the record.
Thank you, Susan. We have a motion and a second. Any public comment? Rochelle, is there any public comment?
I'm sorry, I was reading. No, there is not.
Thank you. With the motion and a second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 2.02, it's the approval of our minutes of June 15th, 2022 meeting of the Council on Family Resource Centers. Again, this is for action. If there's any changes that we need to make or somebody's willing to make a motion.
Sorry, Scott.
Go for it, Vanessa.
This is Vanessa. For the record, I didn't see those minutes. I looked through my email and I went online and I couldn't find them. So I did not review those.
Thank you for that. We can certainly table this item, and they are posted on board docs. That's where I pulled them from, but they were also included in an email, but we can certainly hold this item for next meeting so that you have the opportunity to review.
Okay. I looked on board docs, but I didn't see it on board docs.
Okay.
If I'm the only one, I don't want to hold the meeting. I can always just withhold from voting, I think.
Okay, and that's what legal is saying, is that we can have you abstain from this vote, but if there's any other questions or a motion that somebody would like to make.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes for June 15th, 2022.
Thank you, Susan. Is there a second?
And this is Sherry Alcano, and yes, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any public comment? Rochelle?
There's none.
With a motion and a second, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And
Any
I'll
ob-
abstain, Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa, for the abstention. Any objections? Motion carries. We'll move on to item 2.03, which is possible action to select a vice chair for the Council on Family Resource Centers for the term ending June 30th, 2023 from among the current committee members, Brenda Castillo, Rachel Kingham, Rebecca Paris, Sherry Alcano, Susan Seifert, and Vanessa Van Cor. Open it up to the council for any nominations.
So I actually wanted to, I don't know if it's abstain or just remove myself from the, from consideration.
And is that Rachel?
Yes, I'm sorry, Rachel Kingham.
Thank you, Rachel.
Yes, and this is Sherry Alcano, and I'm sorry to say also that I have to also remove myself from consideration.
Thank you,
So
Sherry.
Thank you.
So I'll go ahead and throw out a nomination. I would like to nominate Susan Seifert as vice chair of the Council of Family Resource Centers.
I'll accept the nomination.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? With that, I will make the motion to select Susan Seifert as vice chair for the Council on Family Resource Centers, and I will be looking for a second.
I will definitely second that motion.
Thank you, Sherry. We have a motion, we have a second.
Rachel
Is there,
Kingham.
is there any public comment?
There is none.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Rachel, I heard you chime in at the end there, so I'm sorry if I missed it.
It's okay. I think there's just a delay. So full support.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Susan. Item 2.04 is a presentation and discussion of the Washoe County School District Family Resource Center's funding status, including the status of grant applications and possible action to provide direction to staff on scheduling future fundraising and publicity activities. I'm going to turn it over to Rochelle.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Rochelle Murillo for the record. The last time we met, we discussed sort of some of the things that are going on with fundraising and with our current funding. Just to update you, we currently have all we have one vacancy and all other positions are full. There was a question about how much an actual family resource center costs to run. And so we did run those numbers, and I'm going to share those with you just so that you're aware of those. And then I do want to give you an update on a grant that we recently applied for last Monday in partnership with University of Nevada, Reno Department of Education, the full service community school grant. And that's really exciting for us. So I'm going to update you on that. For those of you who wanted to know how much it was to run a family resource center, we estimate that we need at least one family advocate. The family advocates do a lot of the interaction with clients. They work within the center a lot. They can do parenting. They can do the needs assessments. They can do Medicaid applications or those kinds of things. And then a family resource center specialist. Those positions are what Wiley and Brenda and Jesse and Lisa are in. And that person is an administrator. They help to run the grants, the reports, the eLogic reports. They help writing with grants. They are also involved with community community partnerships. So they potentially could attend something around housing to promote and advocate for housing within our community. So they're involved in community agency initiatives as well. And they support some of our in-district sorts of initiatives like student attendance review board hearings. They sit on those so that they can help support individual families who need access to basic needs too. So their job is pretty extensive too. So the family advocate, we consider that a classified position. The total cost of that is $41,389.60. That is with benefits. That's a 40-hour, 12-month position. So when we break it down, the base salary is $31,449.50, and the benefits cost us $9,940. The Family Resource Center base salary for the administrative position is $57,162.50, and the benefits cost us $29,119 for a total cost of $86,281.50. So our total salaries between a family advocate and a family resource specialist cost us $127,671. That's for 2 full-time people that are 12 months with benefits. Then we estimate we need at least $5,000 for miscellaneous office supplies and basic needs for families, food, clothing, those kinds of things. So our total cost for a family resource center, ideally, in the perfect world, would be $132,671. So I'm going to pause to see if there's questions before I go on.
Thank you for gathering that information. It's very informative of the questions that I think I asked at our last meeting. So I will turn it over to the council for any other questions of Rochelle.
Okay, one thing I do want to add, the structure of our positions within a school district. So all staff in the Family Resource Centers are school district employees. The vast majority of our grants are Department of Health and Human Services. They're federal and state grants. They're not education grants typically. However, we are district employees. So I just lost my train of thought. What was it? Oh, the structure of how positions work. So every year on July 1, our staff will move up a step. So there is a slight increase. It's like a cost of living increase. We usually plan for a 3 to 5% increase every year in our grants. We have to budget that into our grants so we can cover that. So that's the increase every year.
Thank you. And remind me, it takes one advocate and one specialist to operate the resource center, and that's how we're currently staffed in the centers.
Some centers have more than one family advocate because they are funded under a parenting grant, so they're doing parenting work outside of the Family Resource Center in addition to Family Resource Center duties too, so they're kind of split. So in an ideal world, it would at least be those two. But having more than one advocate is very helpful when you have a lot of clients coming in.
And should there be shortfall in the grant applications, does the school district take over that shortfall to keep the positions funded if it's already been approved for July 1?
They have not yet. So if we have a shortfall, then we lose staff.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's the impact that I needed to hear is what happens if there's no funding.
Yeah.
Vanessa or Rachel, do you have any questions or comments for Rochelle?
Well, I do have a question. This is Sherry Alcano, so I'm just trying to wrap my head around all the information you just gave us. And so are these employees then in the PERS system?
They are.
Okay. And then has there been discussion with the school district in regards to kind of taking up the shortfall if there's not enough funding? I'm sure there has, but
There has.
And so they're just not interested in.
It's not a matter of interest. It's a matter of we don't have sufficient per pupil funding. And so we have priorities, and those are teachers. and other staff to support our students in schools. And until we can get adequate funding for those staff, then they're unable to provide funding for family resource centers.
That's so sad. Okay, thank you.
Okay, adding on just a little bit more on grants. So our grants are in full swing. We have Title IV-B. We have Funds for Healthy Nevada. We've got some other foundation funds. We have some staff in ESSERS, which is really great. And we were able to put staff that are in our ESSERS, which will end eventually, into another grant called Full Service Community Schools. This is something that our district and community partners have worked for many years, probably. I wish Brenda was up here because she's been on it for a long time, at least 3 years that we've worked with community partners. UNR stepped up for us. They wrote the grant. This is something that we wrote last year, and then the feds pulled that grant, and then they reissued another grant, which was more extensive. It kind of went back and forth. It's much larger than what we originally planned, but it will sustain the current staffing levels at O'Brien Middle School if we get this, and it will expand our family resource centers to Natchez, Pyramid High School, and Sparks Middle School. So we're really excited, hoping to hear about that grant. It's at least 5 years, and we'll hear about that grant probably in December.
Wow, thank you. Rochelle, 3 additional schools for funding is what I'm hearing, and then
Correct.
currently fund what we have out at O'Brien.
Yes.
Sorry, you said Natchez, Pyramid, and what was the third one?
At Sparks Middle School.
Thank you.
And those are, Natchez and Pyramid are new, but Sparks Middle School and O'Brien have been a part of our full service community school conversation. That will help to beef up the community school approach at Desert Skies, something that Susan Sievert has worked on for many, many years with Brenda. And it will allow us to open up a family resource center. Just to give you an update, full service community schools will allow us to have a coordinator at each school that will help to co-locate needed services within that school. And what the coordinator does is they hear from the families and the community in the area that the school is serving. So the services that are located in the school will be led by the community, who will say, these are the services that we need. So it could look very different at Natchez than it will at Sparks Middle School than it will at Desert Skies, because it's led by the community.
So for those of us that don't know where every school is in the district, where would those services be located? Where's Natchez geographically?
Natchez is out by Wadsworth, which is on your way over to Fernley, but still in Washoe County. Pyramid is, if you go out to Wadsworth, you'll go past Natchez, and if you keep going before you get to Pyramid Lake, you'll find Pyramid High School, and it's at Nixon.
Thank you. Any other questions from the council?
I have a question. This is Vanessa Vancour. When you say the community decides or informs what kinds of services that they need, well, who is the community and how do they do that? I wonder if you can explain that a little bit.
Right. So they hold meetings, Vanessa, with families that live in that area, community leaders, business leaders, anyone that lives in that geographical area. They coordinate the meetings. They'll facilitate focus groups. They'll give out information, surveys, and we don't, this is sort of new still. We haven't totally planned this, but the coordinator will work on reaching out to community leaders and families to elicit their ideas. And hopefully it is a way that we are reaching out to many different families, not just families that we kind of pick and choose, but families across the community where we really want to hear what the community is feeling like and what the resources are that they need. Does that answer your question?
And this, yeah, thank you. One of the family resource folks is coordinating that, or someone from the school staff?
No, that would actually be a coordinator, and those coordinators will be UNR staff located at each school. So each school would get their own coordinator. Family Resource Centers will be a part of that and will be part of those conversations as well.
It sounds like a really neat model
Yeah.
to implement in other bases and communities. That's really cool.
Yeah, they do have some really great models actually up in Washington. They do some community schools. They do it in New York that show some really promising practice. So we're excited to kind of see how that rolls out.
Thank you. That's exciting.
Oh, yeah, I have one
Sorry,
more question
Rachel
too.
Kingdom.
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so with the Natchez, with that school, will it be I'm assuming that's maybe like that's the only elementary school in that sort of area. Does that mean that there will be outreach to families outside of the school? When you say community leaders, is that going to be, will it just be community leaders that interact with families from the elementary school?
No, it's truly the community. So they could potentially go outside of the school. It is a community school, so that not necessarily the vast majority of the families that we're going to be serving will be within that school system, but they could potentially reach out and do other community leaders that don't have children in the school district.
Oh, all right. So I have a question. This is Sherry Elcano for the record. And so this is very exciting and interesting. And so I want to make sure I'm understanding. So the coordinators are actually, the salaries for the coordinators are paid for by the university. And so then the university is, okay, so I'm making up my own idea here. So this would be possibly students who, or would they be students who are getting maybe a degree in social services, or they maybe are going to be educators or what have you?
Potentially they could be.
And so this is kind of like a residency in a way.
It could be.
Paid residency.
It could be. So we've had some of these discussions and who would be the ideal candidate. So the grant will actually pay for their salary, but they will be UNR staff. We thought about like a grad student or, somebody that's studying social work. But we also know that building community and collaborations is complex work. And so you're going to need to find someone who does have a skill level to be able to kind of know the community, understand the community, be able to work within complex systems like the school district, working with community leaders, religious leaders, families. So being able to have that skill level, it's kind of a specialized skill level too. And maybe it would be a student, and maybe we have someone else that is in the community that would be a good fit too.
Okay, yeah.
So my question for you, Rochelle, probably one of many, is will a family resource center be co-located in these 3 new schools that are coming on board as part of the community and schools model?
Yes.
And so in that grant, we budgeted for those 2 positions that we just talked about.
We did.
Awesome. I think that's all that I have. Thank you for the wealth of information. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Maybe one closing question is, do we have an idea of when the grant will be reviewed, and what is the process of the grant? And where, I know we just submitted it, sounds like?
We just submitted it last Monday. The decision should be made, and we should hear in December, and then implementation would probably be in the spring, which might be ideal because it'll give the coordinator an opportunity to be hired, get familiar with the school, the community, and start some of these meetings and eliciting feedback and doing a needs assessment, and then being ready to really implement those services and co-locate them by the fall.
And I assume in the grant there was dollars projected for building? Like, is there a building, or is there buildings already at?
They're going to be located in the schools.
Okay, so there's space within those schools. for that.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And we'll move on to item 2.05, which is presentation and discussion of the new Washoe County Family Resource Center sites at William O'Brien Middle School and Proctor R. Hug High School to include the cost of funding a family resource center. And this is for presentation and discussion.
I guess I jumped ahead. So you do have the, I already told you the actual amount. We are super excited. Go ahead.
Sorry, can we go back to item 2.04 and make sure
Yeah.
that there's no action that is
Oh,
wanting to be taken
Yes.
from the council?
For the record, Susan Siebert, I think that we just, we gave our direction to staff. I think that's good enough for now.
Okay. Since it's agendized for possible action, the direction that we gave, can we make that in the form of a motion? Or do we want to leave it as is and just go on the conversation? I don't think there was any direction given to staff, more so some comments and feedback.
No, just as a reminder, if I reflect back on minutes, I think the previous discussion was if you wanted to give us any direction around fundraising or anything like that. So we gave you an update on what our current situation is. This council has talked about fundraising in the past too.
Absolutely. And I think we're at a pivotal moment just from one person's point of view that getting these family resource centers, getting the school community and schools is a big enough task that I could not ask Lisa or Brenda or Wiley to do one more thing. And just try to schedule a fundraiser and get the staff within the resource centers available for that. I don't think that's the right step to take right now. But to continually have those conversations about how we can increase funding opportunities and be mindful if you see something in an email to send it on to somebody who might be able to look at it and see if it's an opportunity for funding for the resource centers, I think would be on us as council members. And that's the direction that we've gone in the past, is really just having that robust conversation of what does increasing the funding for the centers look like, and how do we as a council play a part in that. So if we need a motion, I would just motion that we move forward as the staff is doing and then come with presentations as needed. That would be my motion.
This is Vanessa Vancour for the record. Is this a standing agenda item based on all the conversations we've had over the months?
So I could speak to that since I help provide input on the agenda. It is something that I've asked for several times, but hearing what you guys want today, we can certainly, it doesn't have to be something that we agendize any longer. We can always add it later in our year, but it's totally up to the council, and it's me and Lisa that works together to write the agenda. So if it's something that we're good moving forward and allowing the staff to do what they need to do and then just take this off our agenda, that's okay too. And that's a decision that I could make.
I like that. Yeah, I like having it on the agenda. Rochelle, it was really helpful to hear specific dollar amounts. And I think, as you wait to hear about this particular funding opportunity, that type of specificity makes me feel like a fundraiser probably, just like broadly speaking, isn't the best route. But if we could think about, we need to fund $5,000 to ensure that the resource center has supplies for families as needed, we could think instead of like corporate sponsors or community partners that may want to sponsor specific elements, and maybe that's a place where we could play a role and contribute and be helpful. So I like the idea of keeping it on here and maybe thinking about specific dollar amounts and then we could find potentially some sponsors for things like that.
Yeah, and I'll
if that's appropriate.
Yeah, and I'll just chime in, Vanessa. I agree with you, and not that I'm a voting member, but just because we asked for these positions and the money for supplies doesn't mean we'll get them. We might not get anything. We might get a portion of what we asked for. So nothing is guaranteed with grants.
I like your idea, Vanessa. I think it's important that this is a constant reminder of why we are sitting on the council, is to support the centers, and oftentimes supporting them is by funding them, right? Or finding funding or finding funding sources. So if we continue to have that conversation, we're going to land somewhere. Lisa will get bothered by all my emails that I send her about, maybe this is a good opportunity. Maybe it's not. So if you guys have any ideas, I think we should continue to bring them forward. It doesn't have to be at our meeting. We can certainly email Rochelle or Lisa or any of the specialists to help with that.
To that end, can staff email in between our meetings? What is the policy around that? I'm just thinking if there's a need that arises in one of the centers or the center, it could really benefit from a $500 sponsorship to cover X. Because we meet so infrequently, is it appropriate to do outreach to the council for such things in between meetings?
I don't see Sarah objecting. So I think it's okay. The thing that we have to be mindful of, we have to make sure that when we're emailing you, we BCC you so that we're not replying all and there's not quorum and we can't gather together.
And Vanessa, if you're interested, you can certainly make a motion that the staff reaches out to us and provides us with some informal updates through the manner of which Rochelle just.
Well, I mean, this is Sarah Montalvo. I think it kind of, what we'd want to avoid is any kind of information that should be discussed or shared during this public meeting. And I worry if we rely too much on just emails, then we're not allowing the public to get that kind of feedback, which is the purpose, I think, of this committee meeting. So I don't know if I really like that approach. But certainly, she had said kind of outreach efforts. I mean, there can be interaction between Rochelle and individual members here, but I don't think it's wise to share it with the whole group and kind of do constant information, which could be presented here during our public meetings.
And I think also to Sarah's point, if we need to have a meeting because there is such a wealth of information provided from the staff, we can call a special meeting in between our quarterly meetings.
Okay.
Yes.
So, as someone who has to deal with the open meeting law a lot of times, what happens is it feels like sometimes you'll fall into the trap of starting to deliberate, and that becomes an issue because that has to be in the public. So, yeah, I would rather, if you want to share information, but it can get pretty. I would say pretty hefty very quickly if you're not careful.
I appreciate that guidance. So at this time, I would like to close item 2.04 by making a motion that the staff continue their efforts as you have done and that there is no direction provided by the council.
Susan Seaver, for the record, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any public comment, Rochelle?
There is none.
We'll go ahead and vote on that. We have the motion, the second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Now we will move on to item 2.05. And that is the presentation and discussion of the new Washoe County Family Resource Center sites at William O'Brien Middle School and Proctor R. Hug High School to include the cost of funding a Family Resource Center site. Rochelle?
Okay, so I jumped ahead. I'm sorry, I got anxious. So just as a reminder, the total cost is $132,671. And I'm very excited to talk to you all about the two new centers that we opened this year. As you recall, we had Desert Heights that was open, and Jessie, I'm gonna have her stand up here for a second. You can come say hello to us too. And Jessie is our Family Resource Center director. They moved over the summer from Desert Heights to O'Brien, a brand new, beautiful middle school that opened up instead. It's a beautiful, brand new school. It's behind the old school. And it looks so different out there. Sometimes when I drive out there, I don't even recognize the exit anymore because there's housing out there, and the old school will be demolished soon, and that will be new fields for students to engage in sports and those kinds of things. But I'm going to let Jesse talk a little bit to tell you a little bit about O'Brien, and then I'll tell you about the Feemster Family Resource Center at Hug High School.
Hi, this is Jasenia Segura for the record. And like Rochelle said, we're super excited. I'm very, very happy to have opened a brand new center inside the brand new O'Brien. We are super happy to have the whole wing of the side of the school just solely for Family Resource Center. So we have our clothes closet still running. With that, it grew into now an emergency food pantry every second and fourth Friday, thanks to the support of Desert Heights Food Pantries and Extension. And we are growing and eventually gain a new room. So in essence, we have 4 rooms, which includes a kitchen, includes 2 community rooms, and our office, which myself and a family advocate work in making phone calls, interacting with the families, helping them with the applications. We do make same day appointments just because the 1 point entry, we got to make sure school has to be aware who's coming, when they're leaving, and when they're going. And it's working very smoothly. At first, I wasn't sure how that was going to work, but it's working. So families are starting to hear about us. The community is starting to hear about us. We're there Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. We do every other Monday run to Desert Heights and support them with their food pantry every second and fourth Mondays. And within that same week, we do our Friday food pantries. So yeah, super, super, super excited. The community is supporting us. We are still working with our community partners, and we're getting ready for the big event at the Family Health Festival happening next month, October 5th. Yes.
Remind me the distance between Desert Heights and O'Brien.
2.4 miles or so. Doesn't take very far, but it does, with traffic and early release on Wednesdays and the community growing itself at North Valleys, it could take a minute or 10 to get to one school to the other.
Thank you. The only reason I asked is because I think it's impactful that you're still going to Desert Heights, because there are families that are still needing, and I think at our last meeting you spoke of a mother who walked that distance, and so making sure that we're still meeting those needs in the community that we were a part of and will continue to be a part of is very important for me to hear. So thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. We're very happy to be all over. We attend every school event all over Cold Springs instead, and I have learned to say no. Because everyone wants us to be there, and I get it, because there is a need everywhere, not just North Valleys, but there's just 2 of us and 1 of me, so I try my best. But yes,
You're doing great work. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying that.
I'm going to turn it over to the council if you have any questions or comments for Jesse.
For the record, Susan Sievert. So I actually work instead every day. So the word is out. I will tell you, I've heard a lot of people come up and talk to me about it, and the fact that you moved to O'Brien. I did have some people that were a little upset because they live at the other end of the community. But again, like I told them, there will be access and outreach there. So you haven't lost that. But everybody's very happy about the school. I think they would tear the old O'Brien school down if they could themselves, because they want the fields built real quick. But it has really sort of uplifted the entire community out there. And probably, I don't know, half of the people that work for me basically are from that area because they don't want to have to commute. So it's been a real bright spot in the community when they opened.
Thank you for sharing. Rachel or Vanessa?
Yeah, I just would like, this is Rachel Kingham. I just want to say thank you again, Jesse. That's an amazing job. I understand there's 2 of you, but that's a lot of work for 2 people.
Yes. All right. You're off the hook. Tell Principal Baker I said hello, please.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, and then we have the Feemster Family Resource Center. That's located in the brand new Hug High School. Beautiful space too. That school looks like a community college when you go in there. It's an amazing school. That one just started when school opened. It's a little bit more challenging because it's single point of entry. So is O'Brien, but O'Brien has a separate entrance. So what we're finding is when there's single point of entrance and families have to find their way through a lot of high schoolers because that school expanded their numbers significantly. Off the top of my head, I think they got 500 or 600 more students because of the zoning changes when that school opened. They serve the entire Sun Valley area now. In the past, they didn't serve the entire Sun Valley. It was half of the southern half of Sun Valley went to Hug. The northern half went to Spanish Springs. Now the entire Sun Valley goes to Hug. So it's a large school. So we're trying to kind of work through and figure out how do we welcome families in when, of course, it's for safety, but it's not always feeling like the most welcoming because we have to do single point of entry. It's sort of in the middle, but by the office, Brenda has kind of led that work, and she's done a really great job of trying to get the word out there. All the staff here attended many of the family nights for Hug High School to promote Feemster Family Resource Center. The ribbon cutting ceremonies. I think, Susan, you were at the ribbon cutting ceremony. So they've done a lot of outreach to try to get the word out there. They're co-located with what we call them a FACE liaison, their family advocate, and I can't remember. They used to be parent involvement facilitators. I don't remember the acronym now, but they work on family engagement. There's a family advocate in there, and then Communities and Schools is located right next door. And they work specifically with students, so it's kind of a good partnership so that we're working with the whole child and the whole family together. So we just need to get the word out so we can get some more numbers in at the Feemster Family Resource Center. So excited about that one too. And it's a beautiful location, and I thank Brenda because she took it on, and it's been a lot of work. So thank you, Brenda. Any other questions?
No, I have none. Susan?
All I have to say is we just need to clone Jesse and Brenda, and we'd have it made.
I have one question. So you know how in the past we've had kind of rotating meetings at different locations? Are we planning to do that so we can all see these new?
Yeah, we would like to do that. We kind of have to work with board services to see if there's capacity because we have to set this up and it has to be open to the public. We have to kind of work through that. So I'm not sure that we can do it right away, but it would be ideal. We'd love to be able to have you guys. And then if you'd like to come see a family resource center, if you want to reach out to us individually, we can set up a time to tour the family resource centers too, and a time that works for you.
Okay.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the reminder. Well, that, I think, Rachel or Vanessa, is there anything on item 2.05 that you would like to talk about before I close the item?
No, thank you very much for sharing.
Likewise, thank you so much.
Thank you. So with that, we will move on to item 2.06, which is the presentation and discussion of the Washoe County School District Family Resource Center's 2022-2023 school year data and outreach events, including future community outreach events and volunteer opportunities. This is for presentation and discussion. Looks like we are joined by Brenda and Lisa, so the floor is yours.
So this is the eLogic data. So Scott, again, this is kind of one of your questions so we're always scrambling to get you guys data and numbers. And so we're going to throw a bunch at you, and it's not all going to make, it's not really clear, especially when you're looking through the weeds, but we are hoping that you can just see by the numbers that we don't slack at work. So The first one is eLogic data from the last meeting, and it just shows really colorful graph, little tiny numbers there.
Brenda, can I make sure that, can I check in really quick with Vanessa and Rachel? Can you see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so the green numbers are current data, and that's our calendar year through 5/31/22. So if you just look at just the green numbers compared with everything else, you can see that numbers are exploding compared to pandemic numbers. And then the stuff on the bottom is family, children, and individuals are the first three, and then the rest of it are the actual day-to-day direct services that we provide. So applications.
And I'm sorry.
ability- Yes.
Sorry, this is Rachel Kingham. Could you clarify, this is for the whole of the 2021-22 school year?
So this
Is the green?
So the blue numbers are from 21. So, and it looks like maybe that's a month?
So I can read it. It's the
Yeah.
blue numbers is the 1st of July of 2021 to August 31st. The red numbers
doesn't
are
make any
September 1st of 2021 to December 31st of 2021, and the green numbers are from January 1st of 2022 through the end of May of 2022.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I just can't see that bottom little bit of the paper.
Oh, right.
Or
Yeah, it doesn't show
screen.
up on the screen. So yeah, on the paper copy it does. So thanks, Scott, for that. Okay, so the second slide we're going to look at is eLogic current. So, and it says 7/1/21 to 8/31/21. That's a Wiley error. I didn't do it. He's not here, so I'll take it for him. So it should be 7/1/22 to 8/31/22. So that's current data. And that's this fiscal year. So our fiscal year started on July 1st. We've got data through 8/31. Again, families, children, and individuals, and then the direct services. So referrals is always going to be a high number because we provide multiple referrals. The rest of it, the housing is crazy. We don't always capture when a family calls and asks for rent and they don't have kids in the home, or maybe for some other reason we don't do a full intake with them. So they'll call on the phone, and if we can't say that we're going to give them, like I had today a family say, well, can't you just go to the ATM? And I was like, our grant department would not like that. So she hung up on me. She was very angry. So, but nowhere in there is that going to be reflected because I didn't get an intake in her birthday. So, but this is a snapshot of what we've done this year so far. And then,
And Brenda, if you don't mind, I would like to point out that the data is comparative to the blue from our last meeting. So they
Right.
broke it down for July 1st of both years so that we can compare the data, and it's very alarming this year's numbers compared to last year's for July and August. So
And can I just add really quick, because we do regular admin meetings and we were talking about housing, and I think all directors are estimating they're getting probably 7 to 8 phone calls a week for at least more. I see Lisa reacting even more of individuals asking for housing. We can't always help them. And so these numbers reflect only the individuals and families that they can help. There's many, many more with unmet needs because we can't always help.
so for instance, almost every call is regarding rent, and we can't always help, but we can then help with utilities, let's say. So then the utilities portion might be reflected in here, but the fact that we didn't provide rent may not be reflected. It may be reflected in referrals.
Lisa Guzman for the record. So also, just to kind of chime in, under the emergency housing assistance, I think to kind of second what Rochelle was saying, these are families that we've been able to help directly with some small grant funding that we have. So we've been able to pay either emergency motel to keep people off the street, or pay rent to keep people from getting evicted. The other calls that are coming in that for various reasons we're not able to provide that direct service, we would still refer them out to some of the other local agencies, and that would show up under the referrals. So this 40 here is like families that we have hands-on paid emergency rent for them.
And one more thing to add. So we also partner with Children in Transition. They have some, and they serve our families that are homeless in the school district. They have some American Rescue Plan funds. We have been using some of those funds for emergency rental assistance for families that are homeless, typically weekly motels. And sometimes we would pay for maybe a week so that we could extend and help families get somewhere more permanent. We got recent guidance from the feds that we can only pay 3 days now. So they've limited our ability to use those funds for emergency rental assistance. So there's a lot going on around funding, and it's not always as simple as having the funding.
Or going to the ATM machine.
You
So,
need to go
and
there.
families are grateful, but I have had many families say, so in 3 days I won't be in crisis mode? And we recognize the futility of that, so.
Oh, it's very sad. Can I ask a
Rachel-
clarifying question? Oh,
Rachel, we'll come back to you. Sherry is going to ask a question.
all right, okay, so is there, because you guys live and breathe this daily, and I'm sure you've had the conversation, so I'm just trying to clarify for myself. Is there any benefit in keeping track of the phone calls or just the requests that come in for help that you are unable to help, either not help at all, or at least that you refer out to some other resource? I mean, would it be beneficial, or is there a way to at least, because it seems like that's data to then present to whomever in the world, makes these decisions?
Yeah, it's, if you look under the eLogic data comparison, the next slide,
Oh, I'm jumping
Well,
ahead.
yeah, we're gonna get there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
We
it-
have started, it's pretty new, but through CallRail, we've
Yeah.
tried to do that.
Yeah.
It's a little difficult to
But
track.
for instance, on this chart here, or on the next one, it's basically documented under referrals. So we have our database that we track individuals by intake, but we also have client logs where just phone calls come in, and so we roll all of those into the referrals as well. So for instance, on this one, if you look to the right, the very last number, the red one, 2,570 referrals is what we've done since FY 21, 22. So I think that should, is his dates right?
Yes.
Or this one?
On the
So,
comparison.
Okay, so, yeah, any of those, you can you can just look at the referrals to see how many we've done. We may not have served 2,570 families in 3 months, but we've given out that many referrals. So
So you've talked to that many people.
those are the calls coming in that maybe we couldn't help them, but yet we're giving them the list. Or we're
Right.
putting it in a text
So when
message.
people call, they get something. They get
Yes.
at least another number to call.
Which sometimes feels disingenuous, but we always give them something, but oftentimes they feel like we're just playing hot potato. That is not our mission.
No, I
So,
understand that.
but absolutely, if they are seniors, sometimes we can refer them out. If they have other, and the first thing we always say is, we need you to put your name in at the shelter. That's the first thing. And as of last week, there were 27 families on the waiting list. So,
Which is an estimated, Chair Benton, 3 to 4 months.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Sadly. One thing I would like to ask is two things. If someone calls and says they need rental assistance and you don't have the ability to provide that immediately, do you offer the solution of, well, what does your power bill look like? Can we offset that cost so that you have a little bit more money in your pocket?
yeah.
Yes.
So we would ideally still try to go through our intake and assessment process with everyone so that we can screen for those additional resources, see what they're connected with, and see what the gaps are, and still refer to anything else that we possibly could. And a lot of times, we do end up being able to offer other services, even if we can't pay the rent. So.
And then on the number of referrals for Councilwoman Elcano, I think what I'm understanding is that 2,570 referrals were made that could have been made with 970 families.
Yeah,
Some
exactly.
families get more than one referral.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, some families get more than one referral. So, and Absolutely, Sherry. We do, when a family calls in and we determine that can't go to the ATM. So, but what does your power bill look like? Oftentimes they are receptive and they're ready to hear that. And oftentimes they are in lizard listening mode, and all they know is that they need their rent paid then. And so they are not open to that. So, and that is our whole mission and vision, is to move families from crisis to stabilization. So ultimately, we do want to get them in and then provide some case management so that they're more stable. So it just depends on, sometimes talking to people in crisis, you're not able to get in there, so.
Right. Okay, so we don't need to belabor this, but then is there, I'm sure that there's specific ways that you could, because we all understand how, we've all been there at some point in our life where it feels like the whole world's coming in on you and you really can't think anymore. You really can't, and you are in crisis mode. So is there, are there any words that you guys could give them, like to encourage them to call back the next day, that, what have you? I mean, what's the typical?
I absolutely think that Lisa is amazing at that. She has a very calming way about her and often de-escalates. So oftentimes I feel badly for our advocates because they're the ones fielding a lot of the phone calls. And sometimes families are in crisis, and when they are in crisis, they may not speak very nicely.
Yeah.
So I'm always cognizant of all of our staff to make sure that they are being cared for as well. But I have personally witnessed Lisa just de-escalate a situation, and so I think we've all learned from that. We've also done some conflict resolution and some mediation training to help de-escalate, and we never just say, nope, we don't have that, and hang up. Or if we do, that person isn't working with us anymore, so, which never has happened, so.
I think one of the things that I've heard Lisa do is also just having a conversation with families. Do you have anyone in town that you could stay with? Do you have resources? Just kind of having that conversation to help them think, well, I haven't thought maybe I could, stay here tonight, or, when we're in crisis and we can't figure it out. Then sometimes just having a conversation to help them think about what is their support network. And sometimes they don't have one.
I think in any crisis, those are some great tools to have. Just from the work I do, you want to make sure that they have their basic needs met before you could really address the crisis. The crisis may be bigger because their basic needs aren't being met of food and shelter.
And sometimes it
warmth.
becomes, well, you don't have a great relationship with your mother, but can your kids go stay there, because then you may be able to go to a friend's house or go to the shelter. The men's shelter may be open, but you can't take your kids there, but the kids could stay somewhere else until Lisa has said this a couple times in the last admin meetings, many of the calls now are very messy and complex. Yeah. And we're weaving through layers, and of course the families use first names, and so we're trying to write it down to know who Tom was, because 4 minutes later we're going to reference back to it. And so we do our best, but again, we're always cognizant of our staff as well, because this is a heavy lift sometimes. So next slide.
I think Rachel had something before we move
that's
on.
right.
Yes, Rachel
yes.
did. Rachel, we're back to you. Thank you for being patient.
Okay. And I'm sorry. So I think Sherry had sort of, Rachel Kingham, I think Sherry had kind of asked it, but so if you can clarify, every call that you're not able, so these numbers are numbers that are calls, no. Yeah, they're, let's see. If I look at, for instance, if I look at housing assistance, is that in the red 344 people that were helped?
No, that is 344 heads of household. So that's a family.
Okay.
So, and
Okay.
those are the ones that we have helped directly, that the Family Resource Center has
Okay.
paid. So, and then if we've made a referral, let's say to Salvation Army, City of Reno, Washoe County, the CARES campus, that's going to be reflected under referrals.
Okay. And so everyone gets a referral. So then there are no calls that are, like you said, just hung up, no help, sorry. For context, I work at crisis support services, so I get the exact same phone calls.
Right.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And I know that there's those calls where you just give like 20 resources and the person is like, yes, but, you know, I've tried all those things. Referrals is a good way of measuring how many may not have been helped directly, but were answered calls in a way, right?
Exactly. So, and there still are
Okay,
going to be
okay.
ones that fall through the cracks. Today I had a family who had a black widow spider infestation under a home, under a mobile home. I don't have any resources for that, and I didn't know where to put it, and I just had to say, I'm so sorry, I don't have anything. So plus it was just skeezing me out. So occasionally there's going to be something that falls through the cracks, but for the most part, we'll give them a referral, even if it's to 211. So, and then we want to know how we got to these referrals. So, right in the middle of the pandemic, we implemented a new call rail data system, so which is a tracking system for us. Like the rest of the world, we had to pivot. We weren't all in our offices all at the same time. We needed a way to figure out how to return calls from home and also to meet the needs of our families. Anybody, I'm thinking probably under 35, maybe 40, would prefer not to talk on the phone. They want to text. So we realized, and especially most of our landline phone calls come from Washoe County School District, and many of our families treat that like it's the black widow infestation. They won't answer it. So, but they will text. So most young people prefer to text. So, so we have our call rail data. So the slide that you're hopefully seeing now describes everything that's coming in and going out. It's a little bit murky. Again, it doesn't account for 100% of our phone calls. So, and the reason is because of those landlines. So Jessie and her staff are excellent at using the call rail data center for most everything. And so it shows up on here. I'm lazy. I'm going to admit it is much easier for me to pick up a landline, dial 9, and dial my client. So then it won't show up on here. So Sun Valley, well, especially Sparks and Central Reno, they've been established for a really long time. Sun Valley has been there, the Desert Skies one, since 2019. They all have really established landlines. Clients know the phone numbers. And so those are still going to be the majority of those phone calls. O'Brien is a new center and Hug is a new center. Families are still getting used to that phone number. So, and again, Central Reno staff, they also prefer to pick up the phone and just dial 9 to get out. So it's a great snapshot of what we're doing. And you can, so if I tell you that this is how many calls are coming in and that doesn't account for the landline, it's an impressive number.
Okay, so I have a clarification
Yes.
question, sorry. So you're saying that the data is also reflecting text messages?
It does.
Because you're saying that your clientele in general prefer texting. And so when you speak of the landlines, that's because the schools all have regular
Right.
landlines. But
Yeah.
then if people have cellulars, then this is also reflected in here.
Yes.
And that would be if they call you on their cell phone or texted you on their cell phone.
Yeah. So, and then there's also ones that are actually picture texts, so that will show up here. So we will ask, can you take a picture of your power bill and send it to me? And so that is reflected as well, which is a new tool that, because in the olden days, we had to have somebody walk in with their NV Energy bill. So, and now we can have them just take a picture of it. So we have pivoted like the rest of the world to make things easier. So, and definitely some folks are going to prefer text and not answer a landline. And then there are some of my families that are like, I don't do that texting thing. And I'm like, I got you too. So we'll figure it out both ways.
Okay, thank you.
So flipping to call rail data, so the bottom part, you can be ignored. That's just part of, if you scroll down, it would have all of our numbers, but we just wanted to capture the graph at the top. And so, and it's just another way of looking at the same thing. You can just see the different centers, the different colors, when we were busy, when we weren't. Again, all of that data may or may not mean much. It's just showing you that we're doing our jobs. So I imagine we could do a deep dive into it. I'll let Wiley do that. So he really likes the data, and it really is fascinating. And again, I just want to be able to call my client and have them answer the phone, and then if they don't, then I'm going to text them. So we figure that out. So this is a really valuable tool for us. Jessie and her staff have also figured out how to do blast texts, which is great. We have food today, that kind of thing. So we can reach many people, and then that helps a lot as well. So we're navigating that and figuring out the best way to do it. So I don't have the next one. So we're going to go through this. The next one is any questions on CallRail on the data system? Okay. So Google data. Yeah. So this is, again, this is Wiley's baby that will tell you that we've got reviewed, who visited it, how many times they visited it, and what the reviews are. So if any of you have time, go on and give us a review. That would be great. So a lot of us have put it on our tagline on our emails. Families, of course, are more willing to give you a good review when they've gotten something, but we don't want to skew the results that way. But if they're mad, or if they're desperate, or if they're in crisis, they're just jumping ahead to the next thing. So then as they're walking up, don't forget to give us a review. And you're just like, ugh. So if you,
I have all the profiles up, Brenda, so I can show them
Okay,
kind
go
of what
ahead.
each one. This
Yeah.
one is Central Family Resource Center. This is North Valleys. So you'll see these two are over 1,000 views.
Sparks has a bazillion. Wait till you see this
Sparks,
one.
10,000.
So if you Google the Sparks Family Resource Center, if you Google Washoe County School District Sparks Family Resource Center, Sparks comes up first. So a lot of these reviews actually are a resource center. So,
And then Sun Valley.
yeah. So
I think that's all we have for now.
yeah. So I like that Scott Riggin said it's next to the school doing good work. So we're happy with that. So again, if you're really bored, maybe while you're waiting for a flight one day, go on to Google and check out the reviews. It's kind of interesting. Of course, then there's some you're like, who is this person? I don't even remember them. Why are they so mad at me? So, so. That one day, yeah. So again, there is data tracking because as we know, as all of us know, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. So, and we're always looking for a really good way to capture all the data. So, I've got one at the end to add.
Okay, Lisa Guzman for the record, and I will share our events and collaborations since our last meeting to date. As you will see, as usual, we've been out and about and very busy. With partnerships and spreading the word about the Family Resource Center. We've continued our mobile harvest. They come out to Sun Valley. Jessie has been doing senior food distribution out at North Valleys. Catholic Charities does a monthly food distribution out at Sparks. They actually had it today, so we go out for that. Catholic Charities also opened a new food pantry in North Valleys, and our North Valley site was out there for that. All of our sites continue to have SNAP outreach staff from the food bank on hand to help people apply for SNAP benefits. Jessie attended a Christmas in July with Washoe County Sheriff's Office, the ribbon cutting, as you heard previously, for O'Brien and Hug. A lot of North Valleys events that Jessie and Edith have attended, popsicles at the park at Lemon Valley, ice cream social, a lot of back to school events. So every year we try to attend as many back to school nights as possible. Here's a list of some of the ones that we have attended. And then Jessie had this really good idea that I've copied, that when she's out and about attending school events, she had started inviting our contacts at the 4 Medicaid HMOs to travel with her. So we have connected with them all recently. They have quarterly meetings that we attend to learn about what's going on. And by the way, Medicaid has changed a lot, and the benefits that they offer through their HMOs are amazing. Well, I don't know if I can say, and actually I would say they're all pretty comparable, but like gift cards for going to the doctor and the dentist. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. Transportation, cell phones, Costco memberships, Boys and Girls Club, help with your GED test, on and on and on. It is amazing. So we've partnered with them, and Jessie had the fabulous idea of when she's going to her back to school nights to invite all of them as well and kind of travel together, which has been really cool. So I stole her idea, and I did that recently. So, and I think that just helps booster our partnership with them, as well as, you know, it's kind of sad because they offer such amazing benefits, but the clients don't know. So having them come out and be there on site to talk to hundreds of families that are gonna be on one of those plans is very nice. So, yeah, so that's been good. Liberty Dental is the provider for the Medicaid plans as far as dental. So anyone that has Medicaid is going to have Liberty Dental. So they've been kind of part of our pack there too. Reno Housing Authority had a resource fair. Family Health Festival was out in Sun Valley. As you've heard about the Family Stability or Community Schools project that we had the big grant, there's monthly meetings for those that we attend. The Silver Summit and Anthem quarterly meetings, those are two of the Medicaid HMOs that we were just talking about. Nevada Urban Indians Community Care Meeting. I also forgot to mention that we recently toured Job Corps when we had an all-staff meeting out at O'Brien, so that was nice. And I know Brenda has something to add.
Oh, so actually I have it under upcoming, but
okay.
I also want to add that we also, in addition to all of this outward stuff, we do inside stuff. So we attended, what is LTL called now? What's LTL called now?
Lead, Teach, Learn.
Yeah, lead, teach, learn.
Yeah, so we attend like a big, so we got to meet the new superintendent, she's lovely, and then we had our department retreat. So, which is a great way for us to all get to know each other and what we all do. And it was one of the most competitive games of Jeopardy I've ever played. So, and being the longest serving, we didn't win. We didn't win. So, and that's, okay, go ahead with your upcoming.
Okay, so upcoming, just a reminder, the National Family Support Network has a website. They do webinar Wednesdays. They do all sorts of cool stuff. So again, if you're waiting at the airport with some time on your hands and want to check that out, feel free to do that. There's another Family Health Festival coming up at O'Brien next month. Lots of harvest festivals in the North Valleys. I'm expecting we'll be hearing about some others from the other schools. And it's almost time for our big holiday assistance collaboration with the LDS Church and Catholic Charities. So that is in the works and will be a big to-do.
So there are a few of us who are going to Las Vegas next week to a homelessness prevention conference. So I just figured that somebody from Washoe County School District needed to be at the table. I also think we need to know we're not doing this work alone, because it's nice to have collaboration. And then finally, my final event is there is a town hall meeting tomorrow night with our new superintendent at Desert Skies Middle School. So it's from 6 to 7. It will be live streamed, and I will be there. And we decorated for Halloween and fall today, so I'm hoping she takes a tour.
Awesome.
We have one more thing on this agenda item that we want to share with you. Our wonderful communications department that's always super supportive of our Family Resource Centers developed an outreach video that's on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube and you put in Washoe County School District Family Resource Centers, you can find this. But we wanted to show it to you. It's a quick one. It's 3 minutes and 16 seconds, so it'll be quick.
Fue lo máximo para mí encontrar este programa, ¿verdad? Porque gracias a ellos ya tenía batallando yo como unos 2 o 3 años, pues no podía recibir como los beneficios del medical, las estampillas y todo, y pues gracias a ellas encontré esa ayuda.
We know if the basic needs aren't being met, that there's no possible way that a child can meet his full educational potential. So if there is poverty issues at home, if there are conflict within the parents, if there's food insecurity in the home, the schools can take care of some of it, but sometimes it's a systemic. We need to talk to the whole family. So the Family Resource Center can wrap arms around the entire family.
He estado enfocándome más en mis niños en la escuela porque antes no podía, porque tenía que pensar en otras cosas. Y ya gracias a la ayuda de ellas, pues yo me he podido enfocar más en los estudios de mis hijos.
So they come here mostly for Medicaid applications, SNAP applications, and the Energy Assistance Program that Nevada has.
And then we also offer our Parenting Wisely class in that setting. And so Parenting Wisely is for ages 6 to 11 and 12 to 18 in English or Spanish, and it deals with the issues parents might be having. It's kind of like communication, building communication when they're little, because it's better to build communication when they're little rather than when they're older. So the Family Resource Center and CPS have a memorandum of understanding that we will take some of the low-level non-abuse, non-neglect cases just because the family might need some more resources. So the school district badge is a lot less scary than a CPS badge. So when we knock on the door, we're offering services.
So to me, the beauty of the Family Resource Center is that we can be flexible and base our services on the needs of the family. And that's not something that they can get everywhere. But I don't think there are many agencies that are really that comprehensive when a family walks in the door, that we're really going to do an assessment of everything that's going on and try to help them in any way possible.
Me han ayudado bastante y yo también le agradezco mucho a Lisa, porque es una persona maravillosa y sus clientelas que tiene, sus trabajadoras, y me han ayudado mucho para estampillas y para más cosas me han ayudado.
We strive really hard to provide a warm, welcoming environment for people so that they feel comfortable coming here. They don't have to worry about anything, and just for people to understand that we're really here to help them meet their needs and goals, and it's a safe place for them to come to seek services.
Pretty sure Wiley edited himself out of there.
Yeah, and we didn't have the 2 new Family Resource Centers when we were working on that one.
That's so awesome. I love seeing that. That's wonderful. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you both for sharing such great information. I appreciate it. All right, that's going to move us into our closing items. Look to Rochelle for any public comment on item 3.01.
There is no public comment.
Thank you. Item 3.02 is our next meeting announcement. We will be meeting again January the 18th of 2023. And with that, it is 7:20, and I will call this meeting adjourned.